As always, we're waiting on a few more people. So let's just wait to see a few more come in here, and then I'll begin. And we are talking about hauntings this evening, because I think people have a misconception from television how hauntings actually work. So I need to address like how that actually happens. It's not quite what you see on TV. A little bit is, but not the whole thing. So I'm going to wait until we have a few more people in here, and then we will begin, and we'll take your questions after I'm done saying a few things. But again, so many people have misconceptions about like spirits that have crossed over, and thinking that this has something to do with certain places or certain, like, I'll tell you how it actually works, but I want to make sure we have enough people in here. Okay. So here's the deal. My name is not psychic Carla Barron. My name is Carla Barron. I just happen to be a psychic that a lot of people know. And I have been known for my work in psychic crime, but before that, I was visiting very haunted locations, talking with ghosts, talking with spirit, talking with people that had no idea what this actually was. So I need to make sure everybody can hear me. Raise your hands, the ones that are in here, if you can actually hear what I'm saying, because I don't want to start this over again. So I think we're good. Let me know that you can hear this. I'm assuming you can since you're still in here. Here's how the deal works. When you cross over, not everyone haunts, various places just because they're bored and they're on the other side, okay? They just don't. I mean, when you cross over, there's lots to do, and your spirit guides are working on your aura, making sure that whatever holes are in your aura are healing, intact. And then you start working on the life review, and then you start working on, okay, how do we attach lessons that deal with what I didn't actually complete this lifetime, and we go into the next lifetime. The reason hauntings actually happen, and I know this is the week before Halloween. Next week, we're just going to do ghost stories and everybody's ghost stories, but that's next week on Halloween itself. Same time, same bat channel, same thing. Okay, so haunted locations. Not every graveyard is haunted, okay? I mean, first of all, when souls haunt a certain location, it's generally not in a cemetery. It's unless the cemetery was actually built on top of land or ground, where a certain war happened or battle happened, or they lost their lives there, and the cemetery just happens to be there. Then, and mostly then, is when those hauntings occur in cemeteries. Most most people, when they cross over, don't want to haunt the place where their ashes are or their bones are, and that's just not what's happening. They will go to the place where they actually lost their lives, whether it be a hospital, a facility, the battleground. If it was at sea, they will lose, that's where they haunt, the ship that they lost their lives on. If a house is haunted or objects are haunted, it's because those particular items are somehow connected to that death and that crossing over. As far as what I've been able to glean through readings, cemeteries are not like the most active places unless they also happen to be battlegrounds, like Gettysburg, or, if they're battlegrounds or they're hospitals or insane asylums where they lost their lives, or medical facilities. Hospitals are very much, in line for some of the top haunted facilities. I just think that if you're going to have a haunting, think about it with yourself. You're crossing over. Do you want to haunt a cemetery? And only when those people sort of show up that knew you, that's the haunting? No. They're going to haunt an area where a lot of psychological trauma happened, PTSD, where there's a misunderstanding about why they're gone, or just no knowledge at all why they're gone. So when a haunting happens, let's say it's in a forest. Let's say there are souls in a forest. It's usually because that's where they were hiding, somewhere they thought was safe, and they were hunted. Or let's say it's, someone's home and they died in the home, but it wasn't a natural death. And they don't know why they're gone, and they have no idea they've crossed over. Then there's a haunting, especially if they were abused in some way, or, that wasn't finished. But most souls don't come back and haunt. Okay, that just doesn't happen. It happens because a collective group of souls lost their lives all at once, like 9/11. Absolutely, that area, that ground, that air is haunted. Various battlegrounds where soldiers and personnel that were there, or if an area was bombed, let's say there was a bombing, and a number of people lost their lives on that ground in those homes, that area is haunted. So, the biggest thing that I can say about this is television is television, but if you really want to know what's going on, I've actually been in the space. Yes, I've been on television. Yes, I've dealt with the hauntings and whatever. And, they need a certain narrative. But in actuality, cemeteries are the least haunted places, unless you've got like the unknown soldiers, where, or graveyards where, there's nobody knows who it is. They haven't been identified. They were unknown. So those places are haunted because there wasn't any closure. There wasn't any explanation for why it happened. So hauntings are mainly a looping in the energy field. It happens in the air, it happens in the environment. It can be measured by different things. The temperature that we know as temperature will actually change and fluctuate. It will get to a point where those areas are generally 15 to 20 degrees colder than other areas will be. So chances are really good that someone doesn't know why they've crossed over, or they're holding on to so much anger or so much grief or so much whatever the last final emotion was before they crossed. And or if it's delusion, or if it's insanity, or if it's, it was so horrifying. Let's say the witches of Salem, let's go there. To be burned alive at the stake, I mean, first of all, none of us really know what that's like, but to smell your flesh burning, that amount of pain, and then you go outside your body and that still doesn't help. So we're in a situation that that area, those areas where those souls were tortured because a belief system was in place that, they needed control. The people in government at that time, hundreds of years ago, during the Salem witch trials, during the other witch trials in Europe, they needed control. They needed to sort of round up all these souls and have them believe what they told them to believe. And if they colored outside the lines, then you were declared a witch. Have I been a witch before? Chances are good. Because I generally color outside the lines. It's kind of my thing. That's kind of my MO. That's who I am. Salem witch trials, whether or not they were gruesome or just, people were scared, anything that was different, it was mainly the people in power that needed to control a certain area. And the only way to do that was through faith, through what they believed, through the written word of what they were told to believe. And if it was something outside of that, then they were declared a witch. If somebody had knowledge of how to heal someone and they weren't one of the designated physicians in the area, and they worked with herbs or tinctures or some sort of natural elements in order to heal someone, then you became a witch. Anybody that was different from what they thought you should be. How did human beings get to this point? I just don't understand. Anyway, the reason hauntings happen though is because either the actual death itself was just so overwhelming, so beyond the scope of human conception. They just couldn't conceive what was happening to their bodies. Or if there's let's talk about exorcism, since I was raised Roman Catholic, let's go there. Let's talk about these exorcisms that happen and possession and those particular houses or people become possessed, and then there are hauntings that happen surrounding that issue. Um, Again, it's belief systems. It is a a human construct that became that sort of sided with it sort of leaned towards the evil side of things, and it was only because they just didn't know how to explain certain natural events or supernatural events. They just didn't know how to explain it. So hauntings happen where there is no knowledge as to why it's happening, whether it be homes, whether it be, a lot of stuff has been disproven at this point. And, I mean, there's Amityville Horror. There's other things that happen where they took the narrative of some story and they embellished it in some other location. The Exorcist is one of them. It was actually a young boy that suffered from the signs of possession or insanity or something that was supernatural that was definitely not something they could explain. Other homes have been haunted. If Hollywood or, a writer gets a hold of that narrative and they need to make it bigger than life, chances are it's going to change. But, I have visited locations that have been haunted, and there's definitely electromagnetic activity going on there. It's definitely colder around me when I'm sensing it. I have seen things, I have witnessed things that fly through the air with nothing other than the force of whatever it is. Um, Usually, if a possession happens, it deals with like a hormonal imbalance where it's a younger, like early teen, and they're primed for that kind of thing. But it's also happened with older people. So a lot of times the hauntings, though, will happen surrounding the actual place where the death occurred. So that's why hospitals and insane asylums get the big, sort of badge for holding a lot of energy there. Because once they die, then what happens to that energy? Especially if they didn't know how they died, or they weren't ready to die, or they had no concept of crossing over. So they're looping the same narrative over and over and over again. They don't know how to escape that particular scenery. And they don't know how to explain why they're trapped there. And then you have these mediums on TV that pretend to go in and like release them. First of all, spirits or entities that are trapped, energy that is trapped within a space will only leave if somehow either A, they're threatened to leave, and if they sense a threat, they'll go, or if they're sent back to whence they came. So it's very few people have the ability to actually do that. So these people that pretend to be mediums on TV and go around exorcising demons, I'm sorry, but I was part of that world, and most of them were just dramatic effect. I'm sorry. I'm not going to name names because we don't do that, but I was there. I was there with some of them, and it was all I could do, to just hold it together and not laugh myself silly. because some of it was just so ridiculous. And that's what television was. Yes, it introduced us to a lot of people who had interest in that type of thing. But there's knowledge and then there's like make believe. So if you want to know what really happens, most spirits that are trapped, they don't know they're trapped. They they can't see you. You can see them maybe, but they can't see you. Or if they can see you, they can't interact with you. They don't know what to do to escape the space they're in. So that's why it takes someone with incredible ability to tap in and walk them through the choices. It's still a free will choice if they leave. But the hauntings hardly ever happen in a cemetery, like I said, unless they're on a battleground or they were built on sacred ground that was desecrated in some way. You know, or this is a human construct where they move the bodies of an existing cemetery to another piece of land so that they could build, you know, whatever monstrosity they were building or community or whatever. And they didn't inform the people they're building them on top of bodies. So are you guys hearing me? Because somebody is saying they can't hear anything. Are you guys still hearing? I need you guys to sort of put your hands up if you can hear what I've been saying. Hello? All right. You guys can hear. Okay, good. Michelle, you need to go back in there, Michelle. It's your equipment because apparently everything is fine. Everything. Microphone is back on again. All right, can still hear me? I reconnected the mic again for those that were having issues. You guys good? Give me a thumbs up if everybody can hear what's going on here so I can continue. All right, good. Catherine, Patrick, thank you. Okay, so I need questions about what I've been saying because I'm trying to give you guys the real stuff. You know, the stuff that actually happens out there in a haunted location, you know, and what constitutes a haunted location, a haunting. It's generally either a place where that particular spirit or soul felt the most comfortable, or they lost their lives at that location. If they're haunting a location like a childhood home or something like that, it's because they need to address something that happened in the lifetime and they don't know where else to go except to go back home. So that's kind of, you know, the story. Um, and if anybody else can't hear what's going on, I assume all of you can. So let's keep continuing. If it's a Wi Fi issue on your end, I can't, you know, I'm trying to record these things, but I can't stop every time somebody has a problem with Wi Fi. Just go listen to the replay. But if anybody has questions as far as hauntings or like a certain perspective on a haunting that they need to get, you know, they need verification on. But, some of these places that have been supposedly haunted, it doesn't have, one person could see something and that's a haunting. There's no criteria that says, oh, well, 10 or more people have to see a haunting or see spirits there or have paranormal activity happening in order for it to be considered a class A haunting. I mean, that's just ridiculous. One person is enough. But most of the time, in my experience, it is not a cemetery unless those burial grounds came from either a battlefield or some sort of, like traumatic event where a number of lives, group souls lost their lives all at the same time. Then for sure it's a haunting. Like the Twin Towers, absolutely that area is haunted. People that lost their lives, that got up in the morning and didn't have any idea they were going to lose their lives that day. That is haunting. That is a haunted location. Have they cycled off from most of these? If the spirits have cycled off and figured out what was going on and they've sort of made peace with what happened, then is the area still haunted? Yes, because the original intent behind the act hasn't been explained or completed full circle. That's why haunting will remain and keep looping until we as a collective on this earth actually figure it out and do right by it and complete the cycle. If a number of people lost their lives at a location and then the spirits that were involved, they end up, losing their lives. But understanding why they did and they've moved on, the haunting energy still remains with those that committed the acts in the first place until they come full circle and heal that area with either they realized what they did and they are sorry and there's some sort of remorse, or the area is healed in some other way where the souls that were involved that lost their lives and crossed over actually complete the full circle cycle by reincarnating, coming back, and making it right. But those areas take sometimes hundreds of years to complete a cycle. So will you see residual playback of certain horrific events? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's recorded in time and space, and it has an electrical component to it that I've actually seen. Some people can see that stuff, and it's one of the things they gave me to sort of work with here. And so I'm able to see that if I tune in. It's a frequency that I can tune into, and I can see if time and space has been altered to a point. It's not only the temperature, that they do like what is the ambient air temperature, and they have this these ghost hunters. I mean, I'm not making fun of all of them, but a whole industry of ghost hunters plus technology erupted from this situation. And yes, it's marvelous that they want to get in there and learn, but a lot of times they're trying to record things, but they still don't understand. Like, if you don't understand like the origin of why this is happening, then you can record all you want, but you still won't be privileged enough to witness it unless your particular soul is vibrating at a higher frequency and you're allowed and blessed enough. you know they say, okay, you've evolved and we will allow you to see this now. Everybody that goes out there with their instruments and they're trying to measure this and that doesn't get results, and they can spend countless hours, and it's beautiful that they want to do that, but unless you're evolved enough to go to the origin, see the actual reason why the huntings are happening in the first place, and just sending in somebody that calls themselves a medium. I mean, Tyler Henry got that correct. There are very few people that are actually gifted. And, hopefully I'm one of them. I think I am, because enough people have verified that. But, I'm going by the people that I read and what they're telling me. I don't go by myself. I don't, proclaim, hey, I can do all this and I can tap into the unknown, unless I'm getting feedback that says, yes, you can. I wouldn't be able to sustain such a career over decades like I have, unless I was on my game. I had those skills, that skill set, that ability to tap in. So I need questions now. I need to know what you guys need to know that I haven't talked about yet. But I know I'm talking about like aspects of this that you didn't expect, but I want to teach people while I'm doing this. I just don't, as far as, I will never speak ill of the dead, but let's talk about Lorraine Warren, and let's talk about the Conjuring series. And, you know, uh, I mean, my first case was with Paranormal State at Penn State University. I mean, I was out with them on my very first high profile case. So the reason Lorraine Warren took over at their conferences was because I couldn't make it that year. And then she took my place. So the work they did was compelling. Was it what we see in the movies? Some of it, yes. Some of the energy, some of the fear, some of the unexplained events, yes. But it's almost always embellished, guys. I mean, almost always. But there is an element of things we can't explain, and energy fields that present that are not resolved. And so that's why that happens. I hope what I'm saying is resonating with you guys to a degree, because if I leave you with anything, I hope I leave you with the truth of what's happening out there. And since it's almost Halloween, we're talking about hauntings. And we're talking about, most cemeteries I've been to are not haunted. But when I go to an area where someone lost their lives, or, let's say it's the hanging tree or something like that. Oh, absolutely. Those areas are rife with residual energy that cannot be explained. And it's chaotic energy. It's energy that is looking to latch onto something. something living, something that can explain why they're there, something where they can get out of that hell they're in, because it just continues looping. That scenario, that tragedy just keeps replaying over and over and over again, and they can't escape that. Hence, we have a haunting, a real one, not the made up Hollywood kind, but the real ones. Hauntings happen mostly from what we as human beings do to each other, and some of the horrifying, abusive, just what humans can think to do to one another is why a haunting happens. Does it happen because of some sort of supernatural event that erupts from like deep within the earth's core? I doubt it. You know, I mean, I think the earth is holding on to a lot of that energy and needs to release it. But I believe that a lot of the scenarios, a lot of the time frames that are held in time and looping again and again and again is a recording so that we can learn, so that we can do better. We can do better next time. It's there so that it's a reminder, let's get our shit together. Let's let's continue on in a better way and make better choices and not treat each other like this. That's why battlegrounds have so much of that stored. And no, I'm sorry, every ghost hunter that goes out there will not be privy to it. Only the ones that will know what to do with it, will know what to do with that information that they're receiving. Then the real, supernatural, unholy events start happening. When something can be done about it. Not every generic, garden variety ghost hunter can go out there and experience something. That's why countless numbers of them, God love each and every one of them, but countless numbers of them are out there, with their flashlights and their equipment, and they're just sitting there for, you know, 36, 48 hours, recording stuff. It's like countless hours trying to capture something, anything. And that's why the bulk of it is not really, anything that can be considered paranormal. It's, that's why you have like lens flare, and you have like orbs that are actually dust, and like some other things. I've had so many people send me, and I stopped letting you guys do that, send me pictures of all of everything you've captured. Very few times have I seen the real stuff coming through. Very few times. It's it's a hobby, or it's a field that takes a lot of patience, and it takes those that are of a higher elevation as far as your soul progression, as far as your vibrational rate, in order to even understand what's coming through. Because not every spirit's going to be showing you stuff unless you can digest what it is they're showing. So, all I'm saying is, please don't take it as, I'm bashing every ghost hunter out there. But, so much stuff that I've seen is such nonsense. But it still exists. It is a real field. It is real energy. It is a mapping of some of the horrific events that have happened on this plane. All right, I'm assuming nobody has any questions because nobody's requested to speak. So I'm going to give you guys your last chance to come in here. and just ask what you can. It's 1 week to Halloween. Just ask me what you need to know about hauntings. If not, we're going to leave it here. And hold on. We have one person. Patrick. Patrick.
Good evening. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling good. So I just need to know if you have questions about what I've said. Hopefully, I haven't startled anybody too much out there with what I'm revealing, but I'm trying to give you guys the real story about what happens with this field.
No,
So,
absolutely. My question is, when you have experiences with the spirits, do those spirits remember you like years after that one incident?
okay, rephrase the question.
Um, when you encounter a spirit, does it remember you like years later?
Well, first of all, for those that have crossed over, their sense of time is not the same as ours.
Mm-hmm.
Time here on Earth is much more stretched out. It's much more delayed. Uh, so 30 years here is about 5 minutes on the other side.
Oh my God.
So they have no concept of time because they're not tethered to this plane anymore. So for them, it happened yesterday, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so do they remember if they've encountered you? If you're still holding on to that memory, it depends on whether they have like a karmic connection to you personally. Because if it's just, if like in my case where I'm out filming on these locations that are haunted, like say Hawaii, or where I was in MTV Sphere, like when I went to Talapahawa in Mexico, or I went to Kamloops in Canada. I mean, are those spirits going to remember who I am and the fact that I was there and I left my stamp on there and I left my energy there? Um, it depends on whether or not they still need more resolution with what I was able to do. Did I have spirits following me home?
Yes.
Couple times, yes.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Eastern State Penitentiary, for absolutely sure, I was followed back to my hotel. There was there was no even like other explanation, because not only was I talking to someone that wasn't there, other people verified that I didn't receive a call in my room. There was nobody at my door saying housekeeping in an Indian accent. And, you know, I had a handprint on the door frame that wasn't there that morning.
I remember you telling us last year.
But, are they still hanging around me now when I flew back to Los Angeles? Doubtful. They tend to stay localized to the
Mm-hmm.
area they know, the area they're familiar with. So but they attached to me when I was there and followed me back a very short distance to the hotel, only because they knew the area.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to travel thousands of miles to somewhere else if they don't know the area and they're not familiar with it. So
Right.
yeah, it depends on whether or not they have a personal karmic thread to you. If it's a family member, sure. If it's something that attached to you while you were visiting somewhere else, they'll just attach the next person that connects. They won't follow you back unless you have some personal thread with them.
Hmm.
So I don't feel like every time there's a presence or a spirit or something that you're sensing that feels like it's attached to you for that moment because you stepped into their space. That's most of the reason that you're talking about. You stepped into their space.
Yes.
So, here we are. You stepped into their space without permission, and there was a disturbance in the force, let's say. So,
Hmm.
when so if you're worried that they found you attractive or something was happening there, they'll move on to the next person that happens to stumble into their space. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, and I do have a question about that one episode on fear, the
Yeah.
one in Mexico. Whatever was there, the new wall, was it demonic?
Um, we're talking about Talapahawa or
Yes.
okay.
I think if memory
Well,
serves me right, I
nobody
think
was
like,
in that area. First of all, we were in like an uncharted area where no human being had been for 300 years. And our team with MTV was brazen enough to go in. I'm just like, it was an ancient area that no human being had ever been set foot on for 300 years. I mean, and the conditions we were filming in, I mean, my jeans were caked with like red clay, and it was torrential rains, and it was just like this unbelievable you know, I mean, I felt like a weather person, somebody that works on a weather channel and they're out in the elements.
hmm,
We were just being pounded with the elements, and then we also had to like tap into what was going on. Um, was something there that we awakened? Oh, quite possibly. Mainly because we're the first settlers that came into that situation after 300 years. Absolutely.
I remember watching that episode with my grandma, and she was telling me like whatever they had, whatever was there was very upset that they were there, and she had said something along the lines of like, I feel sorry for those 12 contestants, because they had group 1 and group 2. And she was just like, I feel so sorry for them. And I asked her why. And she's just like, sometimes when there's situations like that, it force opens their third eye or something. She had said something like that. And she was just like, I just feel bad for all 12 of them. And she
Well,
was she was shocked that
they
the
were they were thrown into a situation that,
mm-hmm,
I mean, it was all for dramatic effect, but we all were thrown into that situation where I remember they were allowing phone calls from the contestants back to my hotel room because a couple of them were absolutely like borderline certifiable at that point. Like they were having nervous breakdowns.
oh my god.
And they said, please, can you talk to, so and so, because she's losing it and she doesn't know who she is or where she like, and I'm like, am I equipped to handle this? But I talked them down from the ledge, but at the same time they were playing with stuff they had no business playing with.
Mm-hmm.
And it was MTV that also at the same time Jackass was airing. So, that tells you like the mindset of those people in charge. I just, like Like the stuff they were willing to do for ratings was insane, and they were just trying all this stuff. They had a great idea, but sometimes it was irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were getting cuts and injuries and all kinds of stuff, like unknown stuff, bruising.
Really?
People were getting bruises that just appeared the next morning.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that was happening. So, I just, when we were in, I remember when we were in Mexico, like we stayed at this hacienda that was like gorgeous. I mean, it was just like 5-star gorgeous. And it was in the middle of nowhere. And I remembered like we had to drive to where this was. And then we had to hike up this mountain. And like the stuff we had to do was like, why did we stay at this hacienda? Because like where we went was so remote. I was just wondering if we were ever coming back. What is
Oh
that?
my god. That was my dog. I'm so sorry.
Jesus. It's like, Patrick, what the hell's going on?
No, it's my dog. She I don't know, she's been acting weird today. I'm like, Eliza,
Okay,
please
well,
stop.
apparently your dog is picking up on stuff I'm saying. But we went out in the elements. We went and did this thing. I mean, the torrential rains were one thing, but there were like landslides and stuff. And I'm like, are we gonna make it out of here? And I just remembered the contestants were um, I tried to ground them as much as I could before they went in,
Mm-hmm.
but they were just so worked up with their expectations of what was going to happen. And I think it was that combined with, the hormones because, it was just, they were in an age group where the hormones were just off the charts and, just unbalanced. And, it created great TV. Let's just say that. But
At
I
what
remember
cost?
being at this hacienda that was so beautiful, but half our crew was down with like stomach flu. Like they all got sick at the same time. And I remember when I got off the flight and they drove me like over 100 miles into this hacienda. I finally get there, and the one producer came up to me and he said, Roberto, and he said, okay, so here's your room, and here are a couple bottles of water. And whatever you do when you brush your teeth, don't swallow the water. And I'm like, what? He was just like, he said, my half my crew's down and they're throwing up violently, and everybody was possessed with like whatever illness. And I got there and I'm arriving in the middle of this, and I said, should I go home? you know
I don't blame you.
and he said, just don't drink the water, just spit it out. And I'm like, why are we staying in a place where the water is not even clean? And it was this, I mean, beautiful hacienda in the middle of nowhere. Nothing else was around it except this palace that we were in. And I just remembered being there going, and it had like this 5-star restaurant and the whole thing, but everybody was getting sick, like violently ill. I didn't, I was fine. But um, I just remembered arriving going, should I go home? You know, uh, but something was awakened there. It was when you don't have human beings or souls that have touched that ground for 300 years, there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so who were we to venture into that? Oh, we were MTV. So we have license to wake up spirits from 300 years ago. Jesus. I was like, what am I a part of?
I
So
remember as a child watching it, I was like, oh my god. And I remember those episodes were the ones that stuck out the most. And then I think the one in Louisiana too.
the one with, yeah, I remember that one because that's where actually the executives from MTV came out from New York, and Bonnie Hammer was there for that one, and like a couple of other people. And I just remembered like um, the voodoo that was going on. Like was insane. Like people were practicing voodoo that had no business doing so. And I was like, oh my God, people, let me give you a handbook on how this works. You can't just go in taunting spirits and yelling at them. I
Hmm.
mean, you have to remember the golden rule. You know, if you cross over, do you want somebody taunting you and yelling at you in order to come out of the shadows and talk to them
No.
and yelling like vicious things at you? I mean, where is that supposed to work? And that's what they were doing. They were just, taunting spirits and aggravating them and insulting them. I remember being at Alcatraz, they were doing the same thing instead of understanding why they were there and having a general understanding of the torment that they were going through. Instead of that, they were doing the opposite. And that's why I started separating myself from these TV shows. You have no idea how many producers I have turned down all over the world to do my own series by myself in other countries and just go do this. And I'm sorry, but there's a responsibility and a protocol with this. And if you don't want to follow it, I'm not going to be a part of it.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many I've turned down. In the UK alone, there were probably 6 offers. In Japan, they wouldn't stop emailing. I mean, that went on for like 4 years with Japan. They were like, "Please come." I said, "First of all, half the stuff I say cannot be translated properly into Japanese." So, I mean, they were like trying to convince me, "Oh, we'll pay you." I mean, you have no idea the amount of money I've turned down. I mean, they were throwing all kinds of money at me for that. And that's how much I I have I have a moral compass with this that a lot of people don't.
Hmm.
So,
You have respect for it too.
well, and that's why I'm allowed to see certain things that other people don't.
Hmm.
And I understand the rules now and I know how that works now. Um, I just never liked that part of it, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Somebody else is requesting. Hold on, let me see.
Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome, Patrick. Thank you so much. All right. So, Catherine,
Oh, my mic is off. Sorry.
you're there.
Okay, I had a question, but I think it's been answered. Basically, a haunting is something that's evil versus like a spirit visiting you.
No,
No.
it has nothing to do with evil or good. I mean,
Okay.
a haunting can be a good spirit as well.
Oh, okay.
That's just trapped and needing to get out or understand where they are. It has nothing to do with whether it's inherently evil or good.
Okay.
Um, it has to do with um, a haunting will happen if there's no resolution.
Okay.
If why they were trapped there in the first place has not been resolved, either by, if they were the victim or if they were the perpetrator. They could have been like the person murdering people,
Okay.
and they got trapped there. and they also lost their lives and they don't know how to get out now. So it really doesn't have to do with um, the whether it's something evil that's penetrating or something good. It has to do with the unresolved portion of, once it comes full circle 360, then the area has a chance to cleanse, to renew, to rebuild, and then the energy changes, and it changes to something that's healed.
Okay.
Just like our bodies are a vessel for good and evil. And let's say you get damaged, or something happens to your body where you get cut, like it's a deep cut and you can't heal it. And once it heals, it provides a new space for growth and for new skin to come in, and new, you know, like a chance to do it again.
Okay.
It always renews. So a place that is haunted will renew as long as it comes 360. But most of the time, people are afraid to go in because A, they're not equipped or qualified to go into that space and do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's been my experience most of the time, where, most of these people aren't qualified to be going in there and doing
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Right.
And it doesn't come 360 because nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
So do
Very,
they need help to get out or resolve
very,
this?
well, very few people actually have that ability and vibrate at that level, that higher frequency,
Mm-hmm.
where they can actually do any good, and actually heal the origin of the haunting in the first place. That's what needs to be healed.
Okay.
The origin. Why did it happen? It could be a very simple thing, it could be a very horrific thing.
Okay.
But once the explanation happens, and once that knowledge is out there, and they're exposed to the actual event, and they see why it happened, then they're able to process.
Okay. Makes sense.
Most people don't have that ability to go in. And it's not because I'm just so, highbrow, far above them and superior to everybody. It's I'm lucky to be able to see what I've seen. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also lucky that I've been able to protect myself, where I keep most of that stuff at bay and I don't allow it into my personal life.
Okay.
I just don't allow it in. I
Mm.
close off the access. They want to do battle with me, that's just fine. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Thank
Is
you.
that your water?
No, sorry.
We're recording you at home, Catherine. All
Okay.
right. So anyway, hopefully that explains,
Yeah, I did.
once the knowledge is out there and it's presented, well, then you've opened the gates. Then you've opened the gates for healing that space, healing those souls. And they don't need an exorcist as much as they need someone to explain to them what it is.
I see.
And the exorcist part of it just was a religious offshoot of
Right.
them having to explain something. I mean, we Earthlings find various ways to destroy things, so that was one of them.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
thank you,
All
thank
righty.
you.
Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. Anybody else with any questions on how this, or whatever my knowledge of it is, as far as hauntings and why they happen, when they happen, where they happen? If anybody else has any questions, ask now, or otherwise I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. But sorry, Michelle, you were the only one that couldn't hear. Everybody else seemed to be okay. So it must have been your Wi-Fi. I will I'll chat with you guys next week because it's going to be Halloween, and I want the ghost stories. So start getting your ghost stories because it's not just me talking. I want to hear your ghost stories. Hold on, we got one more person. Some last minute. All right, Michelle. Michelle. Hey. So what happened with you? Why were you not able to hear?
I don't know. I kept seeing just my picture and you, and your mic was off, but I couldn't hear a thing. I was like telling my husband, this is driving me crazy. I kept turning my Wi-Fi on and off, trying to connect. And finally, I went looking around and I went back, and then it popped up like 11 minutes after 10. I was like, oh my God.
No,
I was,
I think everybody else that stayed, everybody else that's in the room here, raise your hand if you were still able to hear me during the whole thing. Just raise your hand. Yeah. Patrick, yes. Catherine, yes. Okay,
I
so
think maybe I jinxed myself when I said I hope the connection is. I wrote it too. I hope we have a good connection. I'm the only one that didn't get
well,
through.
I mean, I even refreshed it, and the way Spaces works is that I'm able to Spaces works where they have, I think there's a bit of a delay, and
Hmm.
you're able to reconnect. I think they give you like 15, 20 seconds to reconnect. So I
I kept
refreshed the
trying.
page and I reconnected, just in case that was it. But it seemed to be fine. You were the only one, so it could have been your Wi-Fi was, acting up over there.
Maybe it's just wonky. I don't know. But I'll listen to the whole recording
Yeah.
when you put it on.
Well, I'll
But
get it up there. I'll put it up on YouTube. But I hate to restart, or refresh the page because there's always that chance that I will break the connection. But it seemed to be fine because I did it within like 5 seconds. I refreshed
right,
it and then got right back in the room. So I think it's
yeah,
on
it
a
has to be my
delay.
side. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on a delay for like 10, 15 seconds or something here on X. So I don't again, I try not to do that because I don't want to have to restart again. So
Right. But I
next
did have a
time,
question.
yeah.
My question was, do all spirits see the light when they pass on, and do they go, or do they have a choice to stay? And where they're like, if where they live, they were so connected to where they live that they wanted to stay and not move on. Is that possible?
Or they don't know what to do.
Or they don't know what to do.
It depends on the level of trauma that they experience crossing over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if they're not ready to go, they certainly have
Mm-hmm.
the option to stay and hover. But do all of them see a light when they go? Well, when they're finally ready to transition, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a light.
Wow.
I think it's not a light so much as like energy.
The bad spirit try to hold them back for their personal gain too.
That's interesting. Could
Well,
other spirits be like bad spirits hold good spirits from going
Oh,
through,
maybe, yeah.
passing, going into the light? Or because I see all these shows and I've always wondered if that
well,
happened. That
I cover some of that in the earlier part that you didn't hear, but
Mhm.
as far as whether there's groups of evil spirits that just hold on to you so
Right.
you can't go through. It
Hmm.
depends on what you signed on for. If your fear is so great
Mm.
that you have some like subliminal need to punish yourself,
Oh, I see.
or you feel guilty
Social
about something,
security.
so this will make you pay for that guilt that you've been carrying all your life or something. It's
Hmm.
usually something that you feel you deserve
Right.
in some warped, twisted way. You feel you deserve it, so you allow this to penetrate and you allow it to hold you. um,
Hmm.
I mean, I think you can tell with my personality, I don't really allow anything. So,
No, you're like, move it along. I'm leaving.
but if I do, like earlier in my life, I did, and I
Mhm,
changed. But if I did allow an abuse of sorts, it was because I
mhm.
had to sort of go through that experience to become who I am now.
Right. Because I guess at that time you felt like you deserved it.
Well, it wasn't that I deserved it. It's just that I didn't know how to really combat that, and to
Hmm.
make it into it, because earlier in my life I was a completely different person. I allowed abuses I should never have allowed, uh,
Hmm.
you know, and
Well, I think as we get older, we learn by experience to how
well,
to
and
deal with
I went through
situations.
enough like very traumatic experiences that
Hmm.
I went through enough stuff where I like one morning I woke up and then I was me.
Hmm.
And I remember when that happened, it was like, God, who was that person? Like, I don't even recognize who I was before.
It made you the person that you are now.
I could never have
Strong
done all
person.
this. I
Hmm.
could never have done all this without going through that first and
So you had
understand,
to, yeah. Hmm.
because I had a tendency to be superior,
Hmm.
and to act better than the people I was talking to. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had the patience to sit through all of your problems. You know what I mean? Like I never would have taken the time or sacrificed anything. I never would have nurtured people the way that I have. And
Well, we
and
appreciate it. We've
well,
learned a lot from you.
and trying to take, some sort of understanding. It's not just compassion I'm showing you. I'm trying to lead you out of the darkness. You know what I mean? I'm trying,
Yes.
and I had to be strong enough to go through it myself first so that I knew where the path was.
Right. Well, because of you, I ordered my first pair of tarot cards. They're
Oh my,
angels. I haven't gotten them yet.
oh my God. Which one did you
Yes.
get?
I'm not sure. They're like for beginners. They're angels, and because I don't want anything scary looking. I want,
Of
good
course.
stuff. So I ordered
Well,
with angels on them.
that's nice. And I mean, the thing is that it's whatever you're personally drawn to,
Hmm.
you know, and it's the artwork that inspires you to see other things,
Yes, they look
and
beautiful. So I can't wait to get
it's your
them.
well, it ends up being your own language with yourself is what it ends up
Right.
being.
Hmm.
It's like it's telling you some truth, and you're able to discern what that truth is because those images resonate with you. So,
Right. Right. That's what I'm looking forward to.
oh, I have an idea for your Wi-Fi over there the next time,
Hmm.
because I can't restart again like I did before. I took a chance tonight and it worked, but I'm not going to do that again. So
Right.
clear your cache on your phone and also on your laptop. Turn off your other devices in the home so that it's not using the signal.
Hmm.
Okay, make sure all of them are turned off and then
I
clear your
actually cleared the cache. I did, and maybe that helped
well,
to get me
so you
back on.
cleared it. So you had the problem, then you cleared the cache and then you came back in.
Yes, I think like 10 after 9 after 10 of my time, I cleared the cache and then it still
So
wasn't connected, so I left it and then I came back in and it worked. I
yeah,
got on.
if you once you clear the cache, you need to restart your device.
Hmm.
Okay, restart it
Okay.
and it should be fine. I always
Okay.
do that. I always do that as a rule here before I start these
Yes,
because
you always did say that. Hmm.
I have at least 20 things going at the same time here and I've got like 15 screens up at any given moment. So
Wow.
because I like to entertain myself with like I am so bombarded with so many images and so much information. It's a wonder that I haven't exploded into a million pieces and become
Wow.
a star in the sky. All right, so all I'm saying is that I usually reboot my
Hmm.
Roku device and make sure that all my Wi-Fi is reset, everything is clean, and then I start.
Right, right.
So that's a lesson to all of you. If you get in here, because I can't do that again. It worked tonight. Everything was fine tonight, so we got lucky. But try to do that. If more than one person is telling me they can't hear me, then I'll start again.
Right, right. Then you'll know it's on your side. Yeah.
Because I gotta sort of do it by how many people are being affected. But well, this was a good one.
Well,
We
thank you so much.
go back and listen to what you missed on the
I
YouTube.
definitely will. Hmm.
I'll have it up on YouTube and the rest of the platforms, but I'm kind of pushing the YouTube now because A, it's easier. B, I think we fixed whatever those glitches were because I
Hmm.
finally figured out how they do the algorithm over there with podcasts because podcasts are a new thing with YouTube
Right.
where uh, you can sort of migrate your podcast over there and you can upload it through the RSS feed, but it's a fairly new thing with YouTube because I'm not recording it on their platform.
Oh, I see.
So what I do is I upload it into another platform I have over at Spotify for creators, and then I send it over. And
Hmm.
it's new as of a couple of months new. That's why we
Wow.
had the problems before. So tonight, crossing fingers, I think we're good because I finally figured out because I sat there for hours because you know how I am. I
You won't quit until you get it.
like a freaking crime scene to me. I had to sit study every little thing and see why the glitch happened. Why is it happening right at the same point when I go to sleep? What's going on? And I finally figured out that they like to have a podcast tab up there with all the episodes as podcasts as well as the videos. You have to,
Wow.
so hopefully that works. But anyway, go over there, make your comments known as you do. And now you know what to do next time, Michelle, right?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Carla.
Good girl. All right. So, everybody, thank you for joining. I don't think we have any more questions. So, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. Until next time, you guys are learning. I am so proud of all of you for absorbing even just a little bit of this because I know it might fly over the heads of some people, but I'm trying as hard as I can to illuminate. It's Halloween. It's freaking Halloween next week. Everybody, just be there because we're going to talk ghost stories. So I want you gathering ghost stories all week long, starting now. I want the best ghost stories. I want to be scared. Try to scare me. That's the challenge. All right. So I will talk to you guys next time. And happy Halloween. It's bewitching time. I'm I'm there for it. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.